Now let's try to understand two-dimensional array. So as you can see, I have created one two-dimensional array called num, and in the close bracket we have decided the size, like the array will be of 2 by 2 size. So on the basis of indexing, I have initialized the value. As you can see, 0th indexing value will be 1, 0th one indexing value will be 2, and so on. And to print this, I have used nested for loop. So over here, as you can see, in first loop I have used num dot length, or in the second loop I have used num. In close bracket we are passing the indexing, and on the basis of indexing we are calculating the length. So what it will do, this num dot length will return you the total number of rows present in your array, and this num dot close bracket dot length will return you the total number of columns present in your ith row. So if we will check it, like if initially the value of I will be 0, so it will return you the 2, as we are having two columns in our first row, and the indexing of first row will be 0, so it will return you the 2. So now let's execute this code to take a look at the output, like what it returns. So as you can see, it is giving us 1 2 3 4. So what I have done, I have printed this in this way so that you will get a feeling of printing a matrices of 2 by 2. So to do that, what I've done, I've simply added one space in this, and after completing this particular row I have used one sys.out.println. So what it will do, it will change the line, because over here we are using the print function and over here we are using println functions. So this was the one way of creating our two-dimensional array. Now let's talk about the second way. So as you can see, I have created another array of num2 of integer type, and the size of this array will be 2. You can change the size, like if we will add the value like from 6 to, and over here we will add 9. So now let's quickly change this so that it will be printing all the 6 values. So the first row will be, so there will be two rows in this num2 array of 3 columns. The first row will be having the value like 5 6 7, and the second row will be having 7 8 9. Now let's execute our code to see the output. So as you can see, we got 5 6 7 8 7 8 9. So that was about, like if you wanted to create a matrices of 2 by 2 or 2 by 3, you can directly do it. So now let's talk about if you wanted to create a matrices of uh, different column numbers. Like as you can see here, the first row will be having 3 column, the second row will be having 5 column, and the third row will be having 2 column. So you can do it like this, and in the same way, the same thing you can do it like this also. So if you wanted to create a two-dimensional array with uneven columns, so you can do it. So as you can see, first what we have done, we have decided this num4 array will be having 3 rows, and the rows 0th will be having 3 column, and the first row will be having 5 column, and the second row will be having 2 column. So now let's quickly change our num2 to num3. So now you must have got the idea, like why I have used this dot length like this while passing the indexing, so that it will give me the exact length, like how many columns we are having in a particular row. So there will be no confusion at the time of printing the values. Now let's quickly execute our code to see the output. And as you can see, like we got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9 10. So this was about two-dimensional array, and in the same way you can create three-dimensional array. If you have some requirement of dealing with three-dimensional array, you can simply do it while adding one more square bracket like this, and at the time of creation of your array you can do it like this. And to extract the value, at that time you will have to use 3 for loop in the same way, in the nested way. So but I don't have any such requirement now, so I'm not creating the three-dimensional array. Okay, so now let's talk about the disadvantages of this array, because as we already know, like we are having one collection framework in Java to deal with data. So what was the basic requirement, like why we required to have collection when we were having the array? So the requirement was pretty simple, like in array you are bound to create the size first. It means whenever you will create the array, you will have to decide the size either at the time of creating it, or either while passing the total values, or which will be saved in your array. So this is the basic disadvantages of your array. That's why we require to have collection framework, so that the collection framework will give you freedom of adding multiple values. Like once if you have created any collections like array list, then you can add n number of values in that. So this was the one very major disadvantage of this array, so that we required collection framework. So this was all about this session. I hope you must have enjoyed. So in the next session we will be talking about interface. So please stay tuned and happy learning.